Hello, welcome to MDM620. We are the Gambits, and this is our design discussion. With me, I have Caroline, Lauren, Millie, and myself. And for 45 minutes, we will be discussing the four topics here. So for number one, we're going to talk about key concepts that have had an impact on our project so far. So I guess logo ideation, and then self-critique and design evaluation. If anybody wants to start off, here are some more relevant kind of mastery topics we've written about before, and then I can break into like what we talked about for these past 2 weeks. So ideation, nonlinear thinking, the divergent convergent, and so on. So if anybody wants to start.
So what I'm learning in class is helping me at work because it's systematizing what I used to think of very much as a brainstorming process that was a lot more creative, random inspiration magic and kind of a hit and miss process. And I really didn't know how to organize it, how to approach organizing it into a repeatable, successful, reliable system. So that was intimidating to me in the past when I would get an assignment and it would be, say, a logo development. And I would think in the back of my mind, even, oh, am I going to be able to do this again? Am I going to be able to come up with some inspiration? And what if I don't think of anything? And it was sort of the way I was thinking of it was more like it was that looking for that random spark to happen to me. And so now we are talking about understanding a method, something you can repeat, a reliable process. And looking at this week's instructions specifically, we're provided with a blueprint, and it includes repeatable steps as well as reliable methods of self-evaluation so that we can know if we're staying on track to the messaging. And the material we're learning is demystifying the practices that in the past have given me some anxiety in my professional life before beginning the program. And so it's giving me a lot of confidence.
I like that. That's really, really great.
That's true.
That's
Lo, you
awesome.
had something too?
Yeah, totally. So for me, this time we basically reviewed what we learned about the critiquing process and the overall critique, right? But also more self-evaluation this time. I think he even, Dr. B even mentioned that we're all pretty good at critiquing our team and our course partners, if you will, our class of, team. And what I really got a lot more value on, I think I've said this a few times, is I really enjoy critiques. I enjoy when somebody takes the time and gives me an evaluation or gives me any kind of feedback, positive or negative. I always hear it as positive. So you can be like, you suck. And I'm like, okay, can you tell me a little bit more as to why I suck? Is there something specifically that I'm doing? Should I change that? And I take it in, and it's never a must. It's more of a, okay, so that needs to be improved. Can I improve that? Do I want to improve that? Right. So for me, I do enjoy critiques. And so the reviewing of the evaluation or critique process was a really good, helpful reminder to use this certain vocabulary to really do that. So I took a lot of value out of that. It was like a reminder, which was great for me. And then I found that when I was doing, and I'm going to take over sharing real quick, if that's okay. Real quick. When I was doing what I'm calling the red pen, is it sharing? Can you see it? Yeah. Okay. So when I was doing the red pen hell critique, right? I actually found that I kind of enjoyed that because I removed myself as the person I was critiquing. And for me, that was really helpful, understanding that I wasn't the one I was critiquing, as if it was somebody else, really helped me to take a step back and evaluate it with a clear mind. This wasn't my own work. This wasn't an experience that was like, oh, don't be, harsh. Like, give an actual clear, does this fit the brand? It removed the I liked or, and helped me put in the brand first, which I think was really beneficial. And that's what I took a lot out of from this course, to kind of see it from that perspective.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point, Lo. I think I agree with that part of the process. It helped me think through what I had already created in a different way rather than continue to make, 40, 50 designs. It's like what's working and what's not has been a
Mhm.
super helpful addition to like my design process. For me, though, I think what we covered in week one from David Airy, like the 7 principles of iconic design, has been the most helpful because I used to evaluate my design process through like, is it aesthetic and does it represent the brand well? Like, is there an icon,
Mm.
a symbol? Like, yeah, I can see how that would relate, and people would think of if it's like a doggy daycare where you put little dog ears, great, it looks nice, good. But thinking through keeping it simple, keeping it relevant, does it scale well? I have had to eliminate more from my designs than I ever have before, which when I had looked even prior to taking this course, these freelance education mini courses, they would make these complex and although maybe aesthetically pleasing logos, it didn't work well. Now, when I would go back and review, I'm like, that wouldn't scale well, or it's too busy, the messaging gets lost. So taking a step back and having other criteria to look through and judge either my own work or others' work has been so helpful in getting closer to the most effective solution at the time. I feel like I would get stuck and not know all the reasons why something would or would not work in terms of design.
That's a really good call.
Uh,
And I just want to mention that before you take over, Jeff, is
mhm.
the the scalability. That wasn't even something because like when I look at something, right, you're on your little computer screen and that was a huge, and even when I'm doing my designs for the redesigns for this week, as I'm looking at it, right, I'm on my little iPad, I'm here and I'm zooming in, I'm zooming in, I'm zooming in, yeah. And so when I pull it into my InDesign to lay it out on a bunch of them, it goes from an 8 by 10 or on my iPad screen where I see all the detail and I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. And then I drop it down. I'm like, and now I have to redo that because I don't see the detail. I don't see the Art Deco, lines that I really love. And so that in itself, I'm like, aha, that is not going to be seen on a business card. That is not going to be detailed. That is not working. So that's a great call out too. Sorry, go on.
No, you're good. We still have plenty of time. I think we got like 8 minutes, so hopefully after I share mine, we'll have some more time to um, kind of have final thoughts. But I also had a very similar experience to Caroline, where whenever I was assigned, recently I was helping both my cousins. They started their own, or they're a part of organizations. One of them is doing like country line dancing, and then the other one is, I think it's like a St. Louis call for artists kind of event, and I've had to help them with logos of their own. And it was, oh, this was also before we took this course, so it was a little frustrating where the ideation process was me just kind of binging on all this inspiration and whatnot, and just really praying and hoping for some kind of epiphany to take place, and just for things to actually make sense and click. Um, but having taken at least week one so far, the content there, really sitting down and questioning the purpose of everything. Like, what is the purpose of this organization itself? Are there any symbols or anything I should be aware of? And then trying to tie everything together logically. It's been easier to practice than to execute. I wouldn't say that the logos turned out perfectly, but yeah, it was a really good challenge, and I like that the process for ideation and just creating is different now. There's a lot more steps to it rather than um, self like self research and then really just hoping that things kind of click as they magically do. Let's see. We do have about 5 minutes. Does anybody have kind of closing thoughts or anything? Has there been, have you guys practiced any of the design evaluation or self critique so far?
I think I do that regularly at work, as a matter of built-in process that I'm responsible for giving my team the most optimal version of an assignment that I can. And so I have to go through that process before I present it. And sometimes I'll be ready to print it out and then I'll spot something and I'll think, oh, that really should be a different color, or, maybe there should be a line there, and I'll pull it back and make a change and then upload a new version. And so it's kind of a continual process. And the other day, it was funny. I was uploading something for the printer for a newsletter, and I kept spotting things. And so I had it uploaded, and I didn't think they were watching the server, because usually, they wait for everything to come in. So I thought, oh, let me do a new one, let me upload another one. And about 2 hours later, the sales rep, he emails me and he goes, hey, I noticed you uploaded like 4 times. Should I just, and he's like, never mind, I'll just wait for the most recent one. Because I was just like, oh, I got to fix this. And ideally you do that before you upload, but I kept catching things because I kept looking.
Mhm.
Mm.
I
And
love that.
I actually have a question for you all, because I think the exercise that we're doing this week, where we're doing different iterations of these 6 different ideas, is that helping you evaluate what's working and what's not? Because I still feel kind of stuck. Like, I feel similarly now that I have done iterations of each 6. Like, I see pros and cons to each, and I don't know if I'm approaching it incorrectly in terms of evaluating, okay, if I've done it 6 different ways, this is obviously better than my 4th option or something like that.
So I personally will say yes. I don't know if Jeff and Caroline, have you done your drawings or not quite yet?
I'm still working.
Yeah, so I will personally say that I have found what I thought was going to be like my final idea, right? Like, I looked at it, and based off our feedback from Monday's class and things like that, when I was looking at it, I was like, okay, all right, yeah, I think I know where that's going to end, or, something like that. Like, I'm just going to toss this one in the chat. So when I'm doing it, I was honestly thinking that the 3rd one on the top, and I threw it in the chat, Jeff, I don't know if you want to pop it open. I don't know if you can with your screen there,
Yeah.
but I don't think we see it.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. Sorry. There we go.
No, I don't think we could see it with here. I'll open it real quick here.
Oh, no.
Hold on. I don't know if I can see it. I think you have to change what you're physically showing. So
Oh, yeah. Right. Okay. Here it is.
Okay. No,
That one.
awesome. Yep. So when I was doing it, as I was designing it, I don't give them a number in my thing, right? I'm like, I just put them in its own category and I kind of group them together. Now I'm looking at it, I was too close to it. I really like the one in the bottom left, because when you zoom into it, it's got like almost 3 little lines on it. That when you get really close and when it's a little wider and bigger, you can see it is very Art Deco-y. It is very whatever. But when it's small, you can't see it. So I'm not going to use that one as my final situation. I like the one because I feel it fits the brand. The one in the top right, because it looks more like a building now. That is almost the same exact idea as the very first one. The middle one in the top. Like, so as I was doing it, I was like, okay, what if I took the very first concept and I added a little more depth to the bottom? And the comment from the course was, get rid of the point at the top because it looked too much like an actual needle and there can be some confusion. Okay, remove that. That's simple. I think that works better. I kind of want to mimic the bottom to the top. So I was like developing some ideas and some concepts based off all of that. But one of the other comments was, make it more round, add some more things. So I searched some images, I did a little bit of other digging, but I'm developing more of okay, what fits with the brand? The brand is cognitive. It's for high achieving adults that work in buildings like this. That's kind of where my head is now going with all of that. I really like the border. I think the border on the bottom right one. So I kind of put these in order. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is how I have them saved in my computer. So my final one that I think is the best option is in that bottom right corner. That's how I have my evolution of it, because I think that might work the best. I still think these now look like rocket ships because I can't get that out of my head. So I can't unsee that now. So I don't know, but yes, I am developing more of a, for each one that I'm doing is like a, I guess, evolution of the concept, if that makes any sense. I don't think some of them are working anymore after I finished them. Like there was one and I sent it to Caroline. I was like, I think this is the most fun image I have ever created so far in my time. However, does not work for the brand anymore, but it's awesome. And I love it. It does not work for the brand anymore. But yes, I agree.
Nope. Yeah, that's fine. I'm gonna jump us into the second topic, but yeah, I wish I had more firsthand experience with the sketching refinement process. I looking back at my own sketches, I'm definitely at like the stage 1 out of 6 for each logo. And I'm hoping that with the practice and the question of like, can I push this logo beyond where it currently is to function more efficiently? I'm hoping that that gets things going, but I will only really find out these next couple of days. So more to come on that. I'm going to jump into the second topic real quick. So just quick 5 minutes. Has anybody experienced any particular challenges with this project so far? Or yeah.
I totally have. Balancing my creativity, as in like this idea in my head, with the strategic thinking behind the brand. So, I think so balancing that creativity of like where I want it to go, but then realizing there's a wall because that's not the brand. That's not the strategic thinking that we did. That's not the core message. Hold up. That doesn't meet the target audience. You got to stop. That's not you. That's not what you want in an image. You have to do what the brand is. So, and fitting into that comfort feeling of it, right? I feel like that has been a challenge, but also it's been, like the bumpers in a bowling alley, right? It's been like, nope, can't go there. Come back. Nope, can't, so, and realizing that the target audience is what their preferences would be when they're thinking about this. So kind of zoning into that and fitting into those shoes has been a challenge, but also a comfort in a way, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think of it like establishing boundaries to create within.
Yeah.
Correctly. Yeah. I think I'm having the struggle where I kind of shot myself in the foot and I was like, oh, let's do abstract shapes that no one's familiar with. Let's do introspection. Let's do understanding, very broad, vague things. But these are my boundaries. But what does it look like? And I think I'm still trying to discover that. I think my compromise is that I'm just going to have to take these abstract shapes and probably create something that is semi-familiar at this point. I think I'll just have to make some kind of exception where it just can't be so vague that you see it and you're just confused. So
it has to work in the context of a logo that applies to that brand. So it's you mean adding in some recognizability, the connection there.
Yeah.
And for me, it's been really pushing myself to probably because I've done this a long time, in the sense that, when I handed the versions for last week, my mind was pretty much done with each one. I was like, I've already gotten to the point where I'm showing you what I think as far as this concept can go, of those, like each one. I feel like I did that process in the generation of each one. I probably took a longer time with each one because I went through that process. And now it's like the next step is to iterate each one. And I'm thinking, well, I already did that. So I'm being forced to push myself and to look for more things with each of the 6, because I kind of feel like I don't know where to go from here, because each one I'm like, okay, it's either at the point where it's the one or I'm eliminating it. And so I'm having to really push myself deeper and deeper and deeper into the thinking process. And I guess that's probably the point, but it's been a challenge for me.
Yeah, you put it into words so well, because for me, I found that I'm not necessarily introducing new concepts, but trying to know what singular thing to focus on and change, whether it's line thickness or placement. I'm like, is that too different? Is that a different logo? Or is this the same logo, but slight, like an iteration of it is where I'm struggling? Because I think currently what I have, it's 2 different per iteration. So it's like, well, what qualifies and is it actually making it better? It's like, man, I iterated it and I hate the final product. I don't, you know what I mean?
I
Like,
think we're too close. Like we're too close to it, and you get
Mhm.
stuck in it when you're doing the 5 extra drawings on it.
like,
I have
yeah.
found that stepping away after like a very long sketching session and just stepping away for an hour or two and then coming back, it has helped.
Mhm.
Doesn't make the work like look better, but it has helped at least with just some time to breathe and process your new thought, hopefully. And
Yeah.
we'll have 40 seconds left. Final thoughts on this one? Challenges?
I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm gonna really look forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on maybe your third iteration was better than the last one, and you should kind of explore more something in the middle.
It's interesting to me that you guys are doing like the first round of all of them and then the second round of all of them. For me, I'm taking one of them and doing all of them and seeing where that goes. And I found that like Caroline, what you were saying, where it's hard to push it past the I did this. This is what I came up with. I don't know what else I'm supposed to do from here. But like I took the feedback from others or the theme. Like I'm focusing on the theme. And so for me, it's easier to work within the one concept and see where that develops. So that for me is a little different from what you guys are doing or what
But
you
we have to
started doing.
iterate each of 6, right?
5 times.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Right. So is each step a
It's
step
not.
towards the final end
Yes,
iteration?
yes.
Either
Yes.
go. Sometimes I feel like my fourth was better than
Here.
the final one. So
Yeah, totally. So that's why I'm like reorganizing it. I have it in my InDesign. If you guys want to, I could show it to you after.
Yeah.
Because we're running on time for this one, but I'll show you how I'm doing it. And he said that that's the way to put it in there. So
Okay, I'm gonna hop into topic 3. I'm gonna set a timer for just a few minutes for myself, so I don't overtalk. But find a brand we haven't talked about and compare it to one of this month's case studies. You guys can still see. Can you guys see like the Airbnb page?
Yep.
Okay, so I picked Airbnb. Always loved their logo. I didn't realize it was also kind of a simple design process behind it, and I found it was very similar to how Marrakesh kind of evolved theirs. So. It is supposed to be the letter A. It's got the location icon and a couple other things, but it was difficult to find their mission statement. But I think this is the statement, the mission that they kind of revolve their whole design process around. So it's just anything that establishes a sense that anyone can belong anywhere is their mission. And somehow I found the studio that helped rebrand them and uncreatively, it is called Design Studio. So this is the studio that did Airbnb there in New York, London, and Sydney. And what was interesting, because sometimes I do this too, but I'm having trouble with it for this round with Evergreen. But they chose 4 keywords. So they did people, places, love, and well, just Airbnb, and combined it into their now new logo. We'll probably have. I can't hear this. Can you guys hear the audio at all? I guess it doesn't.
it might be me, but I can't hear anything.
Okay, that should be fine. The audio is not really helping with this one, but so everybody's just seeking a place to belong, and that's the whole core of Airbnb and connecting.
Mm-hmm.
If you could skip ahead in Vimeo. Okay, so this portion. So they wanted a logo that anybody could draw, which I was also trying to have establish the same kind of mentality. So basic symbol. And with its simplicity, they're able to apply it to like a multitude of just different backgrounds, animation, and whatnot. And when I jumped to Marrakesh, they had a similar, I think it was just right here. So their final logo, they tried to combine the letter M, the mountainous landscapes of the city. Okay, I'm gonna end soon. And I think tied back to geography. So it was interesting seeing a very similar kind of process where they just took a few keywords and were able to develop their final logo from it. Something I am envious of and also hope to be able to do by the end of this weekend. So that is what I found for Airbnb. Does anybody else want to share the screen real quick?
Yeah,
I
go
can.
next.
Okay.
Sorry, Lauren.
No, you're fine.
The one that I found, or not found, everybody should maybe know this one, is, let me see if this works, Chanel. And what actually drew me to it is after Caroline shared some of her ideas, having the two letters face each other for the diversity reminded me of that. It also kind of reminded me of Pepsi, and I'll go into that. But what was so fascinating about this, and there's another, did you guys see the other tab or no? On the website.
Oh yeah, with the
Okay.
images.
I wasn't sure if
Yeah.
it would switch.
Mhm.
But over here on the roof of this display, they have their humongous logo, which I'm like, I don't know if any logo, other logo that would look great that blown up and on the ceiling and in different colors. But Coco Chanel, it's basically her initials. And it's super simple lines, elegant, while not being too thin, I think. Like it makes a statement. And she designed it in 1925. And after 100 years, it's never been changed once. So when you think about high fashion, like this is it. It works and they haven't changed it because it's so recognizable, this symbol. And if I go back, you'll see simpler iterations of it. There we go. Which is just these like two C's back to back. They're interlinked. And I thought that it was just amazing that something designed 100 years ago could have the same principles that we're talking about today, where it represents the brand, it represented her, and now it represents so much more. But any piece they make, whether it's jewelry, clothes, anything, has that somewhere integrated in it. And when I was thinking about Pepsi, now Pepsi did iterate their design a whole bunch of times, and it used to be super complicated. And they're going towards something simpler, but the yin and yang shape that they have kind of embedded within the logo reminded me of the yin and yang of the Chanel. I think the human eye is kind of drawn to that, and somehow it makes it more recognizable. Like when I think about Pepsi, I think more of the overall shape than I even think about the font that they've used. With Chanel, it's just kind of the font, but more so the shape and the orientation of the shape is something that I think that the eye latches onto, and it's really easy to remember. And it also makes it super scalable because the shape is so simple. So they're very different. Pepsi isn't high fashion. But I thought there was a few similarities that could be drawn, and a way that we can see the concepts that we're learning play out in two very different brands or genres.
Yeah, there's a really great sense of balance with Chanel. And then even with Pepsi now compared to before they kind of changed, they used to have like the swoosh, and I think the blue was the smallest segment, but now
Mhm.
it's like a very well asymmetrical third balance between all three colors. Yeah. Lo or Caroline?
Yeah, I can take over. So I looked at the Nike swoosh. So it's a one we've talked about in all of our classes, right? It's a very recognizable brand. I actually looked at the history of the logo in general. So it originally started with, and I'm dropping it in here. I can share my screen. Anything that's going on. Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second. Let me just share this. See if I can just pop this open. No, I will use.
Oh, it wasn't even named first in
Huh?
1964. It wasn't even named Nike.
No, it wasn't.
Like
It was Blue Ribbon. Have you
BRS.
guys? I don't know if it'll be clear. I don't think this is going to
A
be clear.
little
But
blurry.
yeah, let me change to a different screen. Hold on. So this one, I'll do this one instead. It's my Word document.
Yeah.
So it started off with Blue Ribbon Sports, which is a little different.
Mhm.
Blue Ribbon Sports, which is just a little bit different, sorry. And it's just very simple and iconic swoosh, right? But more than that, so Blue Ribbon Sports, have you guys seen the Netflix? I think it was on Netflix, or maybe it was on Apple TV. I don't know. There was
with
a whole
the intern.
Yes. And it was really a fantastic movie. It was more like a documentary movie, or I don't know, something like that, about how it became the swoosh. And it turned from they had a bunch of other different things, but it turned into Nike itself. It's a fantastic movie. But regardless, so what I liked is how simple the logo was, but the history of the company, they really just had so much going on. And you can walk anywhere, and if somebody sees the swoosh, you know who it is, right? Just do it. Their logo, their marketing, all of it has taken on a whole other world, which is why we've talked about it so many times within our entire program. But I liked how simple and simplicity and just all of it. It's I don't know what I wrote here. Oh, it's scalable, especially because we were just talking about that. You could draw it, and it can go small, and it can go super ridiculously large on the side of a bus, on the side of everything. It goes either way. I've seen it white, I've seen it black, I've seen it in color. It's transferable. It's just all of it. Everything we've talked about so far in this course. It's everything. It's the messaging behind it. What I found really interesting just now is the Greek mythology, the god Nike. I didn't even know there was one. It stands for empowerment, actually. I have to open up my other one. I just found this. It looks really cool. Sounded very interesting. Greek mythology influenced Nike, and Greek mythology is the goddess of victory, which I thought was really awesome. So when they were trying to find part of the name, I believe that was something. The name changed in 1971 from VRS to Nike. So just a lot of history in it, and I thought that was really cool.
That's really weird. I thought Nike was a made up word this whole time. So it's good
Yeah,
to know
I had no idea.
And for me, I'm coming from the fine art, so it's interesting that I knew about that because of fine art and art history.
Huh.
And the Nike of Samothrace and the Louvre, and seeing the Nike, the actual statue. So that's always been a part of my awareness, but from a fine art point of view, and discussing, why she has no arms and this and that. And of course, the truth is the arms broke off. I mean, it was thousands of years ago, right? So, but that was in my awareness not from the graphic end, but from the fine art end. So yeah, I can see where that would be a mystery. Like, what is that? And what is Nike, and what does it mean? And kind of has its own mystique if you don't have the backstory. So it adds another element of mystical allure.
Yeah.
Wonder.
Yeah, it was actually a fantastic read. And this, I just sent it to you guys in the chat. It's about like the history of the actual Nike swoosh. So Bill Bowman and Phil Knight, they decided on that specific name when they came up with it, because it embodied the spirit of winning inheritance sports. I can't even say the name. So it was just really interesting. I was like, wow, I didn't know that. So, I'm not a huge sports person in general, but I find that kind of stuff really cool. I'm a huge Greek mythology freak. So I thought that was cool. But yeah, that one was awesome.
Caroline, do you want to wrap up the last?
I do. Okay, can you see this?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, Pringles.
Yeah, so I've been looking at Pringles, and I'm finding it to be very interesting in that if you look at this brand has done numerous iterations of its logo, to the point that here's a social media making fun of it, because the guy's like, what the heck? So, but it's an interesting thing, and I have a couple more links to show you, but this mascot, Julius Pringle, they've started to do what's being called debranding. With other brands, you've seen it, a lot of brands have done this. They're simplifying, and they're getting more flat and simple lines, and taking logos that we've known and really working on them to get them to be, there's a number of reasons they're doing this. Part of it is mobile first design. And some of it is simplification, and they're trying to maintain recognizability while being as iconic but more recognizable at a quick glance and in multiple platforms and sizes, especially mobile first. So there's a number of things that I noticed with this brand. Now, this is a trend, this deep branding concept, but the reasons that it's optimizing it to make it more recognizable and removing overindulgent shadows and bevels and 3D effects. It's a stripping down process that has benefited it for a lot of reasons as far as usage and user experience and recognizability would indicate that even though it's currently a trend, it's probably going to stick around for a while. So what I did notice in comparison, I know we were talking about, let me show you. This question also got into the idea of branding in general, the brand in general. And I noticed that this brand is very interesting in the way that they keep reinventing themselves as well. This one we need sound for. Can you see this guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is hysterical.
I know. Wait for it. Put hot dog in bun.
Ew.
Part of the instructions, people.
For some reason.
Yeah. So
You made a hot dog, Pringles hot dog cooker for some reason.
So I found that what's interesting about this is Pringles keeps up with the social media. They keep up with reinventing themselves. Now they're stripping their logo down, but it is part of a more pragmatic reason. And also, I mean, Chris Pratt was just in a Super Bowl commercial with his mustache and being all Chris Pratt and, you know, current and funny. But like they've done live mic calls to Pringles jingles. So they've had these people come in and get on stage and play different jingles that they've made up, and they pass around Pringles in this club while they're doing this, and all these different ways to keep the brand relevant. So like Pepsi, they're trying, it seems, also to continually stay current by reinventing themselves while not losing their brand recognition and equity. And you look at the other things they've kept the same. They keep inventing flavors, yet they've stayed with the same tubular package, and they've stayed with the same stackability all those years. It's very recognizable, but at the same time, they differentiate in the sense that Pringles is actually not a potato chip, which is an interesting aspect of itself, in and of itself. It's made from potato-based dough. It only contains 42% potatoes. So all of this to me was very interesting. And again, as far as the current case study, you see the process of inventing UG and Marrakesh logos, where they are trying to continually stay on point with messaging and brand, but keep it simple, and while also building in multiple meanings. So if anybody's wondering about Julius Pringle and why is this guy around, I think that has to do with the tradition aspect and making the brand seem reliable and something you can recognize over the years, but at the same time, they're trying to stay current.
Okay. gonna hop into topic 4. Got maybe 10 minutes. I think that should be enough time. But yeah, I've also found that like the simpler the logo ends up becoming, the more versatile and animated it can become. So like you can change the background like that. It can, I think even in the Airbnb one, they did some like flipping effects and whatnot with it. But yeah,
Yes, I did find that was noted about the debranding. Some of them, that was one of the reasons I was looking in my notes, but was for that purpose, was so that they could instead apply it in different uses and different colors and different textures and play with the logo itself and almost dress it up or dress it down, depending on the environment it was being used for.
okay, and then on to final topic. So as a team, using concepts from class, brainstorm possible logos that's connected with the Gambits. I guess the first question I wanted to ask was is based off of this one, but you guys can see the screen, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so like when you hear the Gambits, would you go with a literal translation or something more abstract, kind of?
What is the literal translation?
We got it right here. So it
Can't
is.
see. Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. A device, action, or opening remark, typically one entailing a degree of risk that is calculated to gain an advantage. So
That's
I think of it as
really interesting.
yeah.
Go on.
It's like it's making a sacrifice for the sake of some kind of advantage.
Have you guys seen the Queen's Gambit?
Yes.
So I think of that because I think chess, and I think of the whole movie and the style of the movie and about her kind of becoming an adult and thinking in terms of taking on the world on her own terms. So I think of chess pieces and that they could be made into a really cool logo and an archetype that is clever, irreverent, young, sassy, risk-taking, bold, and definitely cool.
So I went with a very similar spin-off of that as well. When I heard the word gambit, I immediately pictured a hawk or a falcon or something that like struck with this risk taken. I didn't even look up the definition, but I like that concept of going through the definition. I started going down this like, okay, well, what is there an animal? Is there an icon? Is there an image? Is there typography? Like, where are we going with this logo, right? Bold and sleek animal, something like a hawk or a falcon, soaring upwards with confidence and independence. When I think of a hawk or a falcon, I think innovation, risk taking, and strategic thinking. Think of something like a maverick. And when I started thinking of a maverick, I kind of spun into somebody that's like something that's independent or doesn't do the same as others. And then I started thinking about, okay, well, what would that mean from a design group or thing like that? So bold individuals who are fearless, they do not stick within the box, outside of the box thinkers, and strategic and skilled and navigating challenges with the utmost respect for the design and the brand. And then I kind of going with, well, what would that design look like? What would it feel like? So then I went back to the falcon idea. And so my overall image would be a falcon on like on a very clean background, very 3D almost falcon with a G, just a solid G in their feathers and on their back, flying, soaring upwards, with very clean typography, very modern, with a slight italicization to it, with a sense of movement. The font is clean and easy to read, ensuring clarity and professionalism. Striving for innovation, the company is striving for innovation and excellence. So it's really interesting that we all kind of went with that, or a few of us thought that.
Yeah, I thought something similar. I didn't, for some reason, if I did think of an animal, I thought of raccoon. Don't ask me why. Like the way the name sounds like, I'm like, that sounds raccoony. Like if it was a sports team or something. But in terms of getting closer to the idea of the definition, I thought of like a target, like having the end goal in mind. So if you had Gambit, whether it's all caps or lowercase, and then this icon that you could place that kind of represents like we keep our end goal in mind, which can be, I think, applicable to any type of industry, really. And it's kind of cool because that lends itself to some of that debranding conversation. It would be super simple. It could be like 3 circles. You could change the colors, but the icon being a target.
We didn't talk about this as a group, but I also thought of animals. For mine, it was a snake for some reason. But I think in the definition, it was because of the word risk. Like no risk, no reward. But yeah, first animal that came to mind was snake, and then some concepts. I immediately think casino and gambling.
Yeah, that came up too. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Like chance, luck. There's opportunity, but there's risk, and maybe some growth. But then got a little pessimistic. I was like, oh, what if there's like selfishness and betrayal as well? Um, and from a design standpoint, I was thinking Gambit fits very well as a theme for this career path, where I feel media designers we are opportunistic, but you also kind of suffer the consequences of your own choices, which is good and bad. And like within our refinement process, every design decision and choice we make has its own set of consequences, either positive or negative, and it's just how big of a risk are you willing to take to make that leap. Who do you guys think the target audience for the Gambits would be?
I wrote down businesses, organizations seeking innovative, strategic design solutions, as well as individuals interested in creative problem solving.
I think I went an opposite approach. I was like, adrenaline junkies, anybody willing to just risk anything. Just the gamblers and the youth in general.
I think, yeah, I think it depends on what the product is and what it's for and what service. You know, it could be either one of those. Could be two different services that it's relevant to each one depending on its category.
That's true.